It was a short weekend of short track racing, and no, I'm not going to repeat that 5 times, but it was a very fun weekend nonetheless. So let's get started with the ARCA Menard Series at the Illinois State Fairgrounds. This is a 1 mile long dirt track. It's one of the longest ones that I know of. Most of them will generally stay under a half mile as a general rule. But as a result of that, it's a little bit of a slow race even for a 100 lapper. But the dominator of the year, Brendan Queen Butterbean, is on the pole once more. And just alongside him is Brent Cruz, and they battle for the lead in the opening portions of this race. And it was marred by a few torn fenders in various incidents, including Wallace Allen, who wrecks pretty hard, and he's losing valuable ground in the championship. That car is pretty toast already. But after that restart, Brent Cruz inherits the lead and scoots away from the pack, and he eventually leads all the way till the halftime break point that ARCA does. So it's kind of like their version of stage racing, but they've been doing this for years. It gives teams a chance to, work on the cars, change tires without having to worry about, we got to get off pit road as fast as possible. We're going to lose all of our track position. The field is frozen here. So, especially with dirt racing, as you can probably see, they have a lot of these screens on the front of their cars, and in fact, they look like they got giant gaping mouths sometimes. It's pretty funny to watch. But after the stage break, Brent Cruz, who has a lot of dirt experience under his belt, he keeps his lead for the second half of the race, and having to defend on some multiple restarts as these crashes start taking out more race cars. The action starts to pick up a lot, but at the end of the day, he holds off to win his third race of the season ahead of LeVar Scott and Kelly Kovsky. Wow. Again, where are these people coming from? I have no idea. That is not a name I can recognize. Let me put it on the screen. Pronounce that. Kovsky, right? Anyway, Butterbean does end up finishing 4th, and he maintains his point lead over LeVar Scott now, as Wallace Allen did fall back a bit of ways, still about 30 points to the good. But from Illinois down to Richmond, Virginia, we have the Trucks and Cup Series this weekend, and we start on Friday night with the Truck Series. This is the regular season finale for the Trucks, so the last chance that anybody has to make it into the playoffs. And is it any surprise that once more Corey Heim sits on the pole? Tires are a very big concern this weekend, actually, for both series. Goodyear has brought in softer tires, and also there was a very concerning limit of sets in both series. The Cup teams complained to Storm about this on Friday, but NASCAR wouldn't budge. Everybody has a set limit of tires. Once you run out, you are out. So tire management played a big role this weekend, as well as strategizing of when to change tires. You need to maximize your tire life, and that's what gets you in victory lane at the end of the night. Once the race gets going, Corey Heim takes the lead, but it is not long before Ty Majeski scoots around on the outside and takes the lead at lap 20. And he pretty much sets sail for the rest of the stage, winning stage 1 and getting another playoff point to go into the championship playoffs next week. Stage 2, same song, same dance. Corey Heim and Ty Majeski up front, but after a caution and some pit stops, there's new contenders up front. You've got Lane Riggs, you've got Ty Majeski's teammate Matt Crafton. He's up there, but it's not long before Majeski and Heim settle between themselves, with Majeski ending up winning stage 2 as well. That kid's pretty fast, and there was some news this week that Matt Crafton's going to be retiring at the end of the season finally. 3-time champion in that 88 truck. And the news is that Ty Majeski's going to be hopping into that thing next season. So it's going to be a big year for ThorSport next year. Stage 3, it is all about maximizing your final set of tires. And as various strategies play out, but it's all for naught for Ty Majeski, as his teammate, Matt Crafton, we just talked about, he loses the nose in turns 3, completely wipes out Ty, bringing out the caution. Fortunately, Ty manages to gather it back up, and he had a solid enough lead that he was able to maintain track position. He only fell to 2nd place. When the restart comes around, Sammy Smith is up front and jumps to the lead after all those leaders have wounded themselves. But they stay in Smith's tire tracks as the battle for the lead gets very physical between them. There's a lot of beating and banging in the late stages of this race. And after all the action sorts out, It is once again, to no one's surprise, Corey Heim and Ty Majeski up front again. But the domination of Corey Heim is what continues this week as he wins over Majeski and Lane Riggs, and he also locks in the regular season championship for the Truck Series. He is easily the title favorite this season. There's no doubt about it. This is like win number 7, I believe, of the year for him. This is like old school Kyle Busch is what we're talking about with Corey Heim here. This kid's unstoppable. After the truck action, Saturday night, we've got the Cup Series. And as mentioned earlier, Goodyear brought in some newer tires with the short track package. And even though the racetrack had its first sold out crowd in 17 years, fans are still fairly skeptical of the racing product they see. This next gen car, not great on short tracks, but when Goodyear finally starts doing work, people will at least watch it and see what happens. Speaking of surprises, Ryan Preece sits the 60 car on pole alongside Tyler Reddick. Both of these guys are on the bubble for the playoffs. Preece was in a lot more danger, or I'm sorry, he's on the outside looking in. And Tyler Reddick is only a couple spots ahead of that cut line. Ryan Preece leads early, and he shows his short track supremacy from the modified divisions up north. And he is setting sail, and he's looking to spoil the playoff picture for everybody. And doing their best to save a limited set of tires, the 60 crew opts to not pit this stage, and he ends up surrendering the stage win to Tyler Reddick in hopes of saving that extra set of Goodyears for the end of this race when he has a shot to win this. Stage 2 gets underway, and we've got another new face up front. Bubba Wallace, fresh off of his win a couple weeks ago at Indy. He's looking to add to his point total tonight, and he pretty much scoots away from the entire field in stage 2. And these restarts are insane. These guys are getting 3-4 wide on short tracks, and the track does look wide, but I assure you it becomes very narrow when you least expect it. And there have been many spectacular crashes here before, as does happen on later in this night, but this is just some fun racing to watch. Richmond actually showed up tonight, and it's amazing. Bubba Wallace holds everybody off, and he wins stage 2, and he gets that precious extra playoff point to pad his stats going into the playoffs in 2 weeks. And it's a good thing he's got that win, because next week it's Daytona, and that is a crapshoot and a half. Stage 3 kicks off. Michael McDowell alongside Bubba Wallace up front, and Ryan Blaney now joins the picture, and all three of them battle for the lead. But there is an old menace to NASCAR. The famed number 3 car, once driven by the Intimidator Dale Earnhardt, now by Austin Dillon, grandson of Richard Childress, has clawed his way up to the front, and in a repeat of last year has taken the lead. And he is very strong here tonight to show the way. Last year, if you weren't there to watch it, coming to the checkered flag, he had gotten passed by Joey Logano, and he drove it into turn 4, dumped him, and then crashed Denny Hamlin, who had scooted by him on the inside. So he took out both of the people that had gotten in front of him, won the race, but NASCAR was like, yeah, we're not going to count that for the playoff picture, and was therefore booted. But this year, he's looking to do it legitimately, and so far, so good for the 3 car. Now, during green flag pit stops, we have a little bit of drama. Bubba Wallace loses his left rear tire as he pulls away from his pit box, but fortunately for him, just ahead is his Toyota teammate of Chase Briscoe in the 19 car. Now, technically speaking, this is pitting outside your pit box, and he was actually thus penalized for this, but the crew was able to capture the tire and put it back on the race car to allow him to continue on to at least finish the race now. But his chances of winning this thing are done after this. But fortunately, he did get that playoff point in stage 2, so small silver lining for the weekend. Back up front, the old rivalry between the 3 car and the 12 car commences once again. Now, for the older NASCAR fans, one of the biggest rivalries of the 2000 season was between Dale Earnhardt in the 3 and the 12 car Jeremy Mayfield. They battled each other a lot that entire season. Infamously, Jeremy Mayfield had booted Earnhardt out of the way at Pocono to win a race, and it's just great seeing some old school rivalries coming back in full force again in the 2020s. But Dillon, during their battle, he decides to short pit to get the tire advantage for the last half of this race. And once the green flag pit stops are completed, that's pretty much it, all she wrote. Dylan cycles back to the lead, and he leads a total of 107 laps tonight to repeat at Richmond. And this time he does it legitimately over Alex Bowman in second and Ryan Blaney in third. And a little factoid, this is the first time that the 3-car has led at least 107 laps in a race since the 1998 Daytona 500, which Senior also won. And that is it for the Richmond races. So there's a little bit of news to cipher through here now. So now that Austin Dillon, he is locked into the playoffs, and this puts Alex Bowman, who did finish second, on the bubble, and he's only a few points behind Tyler Reddick now, but they are both still at least a full race ahead of the guys beneath them, so there's no danger of them getting pointed out next week. However, it is Daytona they're racing next week, and at Daytona anybody can win. So if there is a first time winner, one of them is going to get shafted when all is said and done. And with only about 6 or 7 points splitting between them, every spot in every stage is going to matter, and it's going to be an exciting show next weekend. And also talking about the playoff points, William Byron, through, there's no other way to describe it, through sheer miracles, has locked up the regular season championship. He ended up the race with about 62 points to the good, and that is enough to ensure that he will get the first spot locked up after the end of Daytona next week. That is 15 playoff points to pad to his total already. So, not counting anything that would happen next week, he's going to start the playoffs with at least 32 playoff points, and I believe that's the #1 seed for him as well, even though some other competitors have put together some pretty good finishes this year. It's going to be a tight battle in the round of 16 this year. I don't think it's a foregone conclusion like a lot of people think it is, but we'll get to that at Darlington in a couple weeks. But next week, it's just going to be the Cup Series in Xfinity at Daytona, and I believe it's also a Friday and Saturday night race again. An IndyCar will be racing at the Milwaukee Mile, and there was one of the, oh yes, Connor Zilisch. So last week, you may have seen this short, Connor Zilisch fell off his car in Victory Lane. He ended up breaking his collarbone, but through a couple surgeries, so far he is currently slated to run the Daytona race this coming weekend. So hopefully everything goes well for Connor. Hope he doesn't wreck, because that could exacerbate badly for him. And that is all from Richmond this weekend. Thank you everybody for watching, and thank you for all the big support for watching these shorts. They have just exploded this last week, and it's been amazing. It's been pretty fun to meme around and make some fun stuff outside of this, and I'm still working on some proper projects, but the shorts are just too much fun right now. But until next week, catch y'all later, and have a great rest of your week.